Hi friends, welcome to Books and Crafts. My name is Martina, and in today's video I want to share with you guys all of the books that I am planning to read in September. So just like last month, I am going to structure this TBR in a way that I have a few categories within which I have at least 2 books, and this is to accommodate for a fact that I am a mood reader, so setting a very hard TBR would be quite difficult for me because sometimes I just don't want to pick the given book, and when I'm making myself to pick it, it can lead to a reading slump very easily. So what I'm planning to do for those TBRs is I'm going to be picking about 5 different categories each month, and within these categories I will have a few books that I can choose between, and those are kind of my priorities, but the goal is really to have read, by the end of the month, to have read books from each of these categories. So even if I at the end don't pick one of those 2 or 3 that I have here, but I have something else that matches it, I'm still going to count it as a success. So I had a lot of fun doing this last time, and so this month I actually picked completely different categories, which is fun. And so the first category is going to be an author who is new to me, and here I have 2, and I actually think I might get to both of these because I'm super excited, especially this first one, which is the first binding by R.R. Verdi. I have not read anything by this author before, and I actually pre-ordered this book, so my copy should be here in a few days, which I am so excited about because the cover of this book is so stunning. And so I honestly don't know that much about this other than the beautiful cover, and also that this is a South Asian inspired fantasy, which I have been craving non-European inspired fantasy lately, so this sounds perfect. I also have not read that many South Asian inspired ones, and also I've had amazing reviews about this book. It's supposed to have a beautiful poetic language, which I love. It's also quite a long book. I think it's about 800 pages, which honestly for me is an incentive. I do love me some long fantasy books, so it sounds fantastic, and I am definitely going to be picking it up as soon as I receive it. And the second book in this category is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Again, I have not read anything by this author before. It's also quite short, so I think it should not take that much time. But again, I don't know much about this book. However, this time it was kind of intentional because I've heard a lot of people review this book where they said that the less you know going in, the better. And so the only thing I know is that it's a bit weird. It's about a man who lives in this weird house, and I believe this story is told in his journal entries. I honestly have not had one bad review for this book. Everyone whom I watched review it said that they did not anticipate that it would be a favorite, that this does not sound like something they would like, but in the end they loved it. It has me so intrigued. I also think going into September, when fall starts, it's a good time to start picking up those more atmospheric and weird reads. This is, at least for me, how fall feels a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited to get to this one. And then for the next category, I decided to go with a subgenre that I don't read often, and by subgenre I mean fantasy, because fantasy is my most read genre. I really wanted to try to find some subgenres that I don't grab often, that I don't know if I like, and just try them out. And so the first one is going to be dark academia. I am very much intrigued by the dark academia aesthetic, but I don't think I've read a lot of books which are dark academia. I've read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, and I enjoyed it, but it definitely wasn't a favorite. And so this month I am planning to try a book from an author that I really loved before, and that's Babel by R.F. Kuang. I am so excited about this book. Again, this is one that I'm going to be picking out as soon as I have it in my hands. I also pre-ordered this book, so I can't wait. And this is supposed to be a dark academia with elements of fantasy, with some kind of magic, which focuses heavily on language and translation, and there is like a magic in translation and some silver working magic. It sounds intriguing. I've heard the reviewers say that this is a bit of a literary fantasy as well, which also is kind of a subgenre that I don't gravitate towards often, but I definitely want to try. It's supposed to be gripping, it's supposed to be heartbreaking, and it is R.F. Kuang, the author of The Poppy War. I loved The Poppy War, and I can't wait to read this new book from her. And this other subgenre that I am going to try this month, or I want to try this month, is dark fairy tale / horror. I'm definitely not a horror reader. I don't like a lot of horror elements. I don't like body horror, I don't like gore, I don't like ugly things pretty much, but I've heard so much about this book, and I think I've also heard from people who typically don't read horror and don't enjoy it that they really enjoyed this book. And this is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. It is also, I believe, a 2022 release, and I am very excited about it. It's also not very long, so I will just try if this type of subgenre works for me. But again, this sounds like a super atmospheric read. I believe it's about this girl whose sisters have been abused by some kind of a prince, and she decides to take matters in her own hands and deal with him herself. And I believe she contacts some kind of a grave witch who gives her the tools to kill the prince. However, she first has to complete 3 tasks for the witch, and so it sounds fun. I've heard really amazing things. I've heard there are some demon chickens and there are some bone dogs, so sounds like it could be definitely atmospheric, definitely this dark fairy tale style, but also with maybe some comedic elements. So because I don't like horror, I hope that with the addition of these elements, maybe it just will be a little bit more easy for me to read. And the third category, which I am very excited about, is indie published or self-published fantasy. I definitely want to make an effort to pick more self-published fantasy. It's slightly more difficult for me here in Poland because those books tend to be more expensive, and I also don't have as easy access to them if I don't want to buy but just maybe borrow, or you know, I listen to a lot of books through Script. Those don't tend to be there that often. Still, I want to make the effort, and so the 2 that I think I may get to and I think I may love this month are first Never Die by Rob J. Hayes, and this sounds like an anime in a book form, and I've also heard that it reads like that, and I love watching anime. So I believe in this one we are following a young boy who has been given an almost impossible task of killing an immortal emperor, and to make his task a little bit more achievable, he is also given an ability to bind to himself some of the world's greatest warriors. The only catch is that the warriors first have to die, and so it sounds like fun. It sounds like a great plot-driven story, and I've heard so many amazing things about Rob J. Hayes' books that I really want to start with his catalog, and I think this might be a good start. Also, the cover is so pretty, and this is the first one in a series of standalone novels, and all of the covers are just so gorgeous, so I might just get myself a copy of this one. And then the other one, the other self-published fantasy that I think I am going to love, and that also has a beautiful cover, is A Touch of Light by Tiago Abdallah, and this one sounds so intriguing. So from what I've heard, we are set in a world where grief is not allowed, and where death means shame, basically. So to die means to be shamed, and I believe this may deal with themes of belonging, the themes of love, of kind of what would you do to maybe bring back someone who died, someone that you love. So there is also perhaps some resurrection in this, and it sounds really exciting. I again heard amazing things, so very excited to pick this one up. Now, this next category is something that I probably need to incorporate into my TBRs more often, and that is my physical TBR, so the books that I own physically that I have not yet read. And the first one is this beautiful copy of Master of Sorrows by Justin T. Cole. I believe this one is a villain origin story. We are following a young boy, so this is also a little bit of coming of age story, and we are set in this world where magic is illegal, magic is looked down upon, and our character, I believe, is in an academy being trained to find and destroy magical artifacts. And the thing is that the character that we follow also has a certain disability, and he uses this forbidden magic to help him hide it and to help him function in this society, because disabilities are also very much looked down upon in this society. And I personally love villain origin stories. I think these may be some of my favorites to read, because when we read from the perspective of a villain, from before they became a villain, we get so much nuance to their characters. We get to see all of the mental workings and whatever happened to them to make them go and choose evil instead of good, which is just fascinating to me. So I'm really excited to pick this one up, and I hope I'm going to love it. And then this next one from my physical TBR is once again one that I don't know much about, one that has a beautiful cover. I have a lot of books this month that have stunning covers, and that is Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. So Erin Morgenstern is also the author of The Night Circus. I also have this book, so I may pick and choose one of those. I don't yet know, but this just is so beautiful. Again, the color combination is stunning, but from what I know about this is, first of all, not much. I've heard it has beautiful writing, it's very atmospheric, it's very much dreamy, and so I believe we are following a character who discovers this book one day, which basically describes his own story, and the story starts there. I think I'm going to love it. I may switch this up with The Night Circus, which is more centered around a circus and some competition between magicians, which also sounds absolutely perfect for fall and for me. So I will have to see, but I would definitely like to try some books by Erin Morgenstern this month. And the last category, I decided to go with a favorite author, and for this I also have two books. So the first one is going to be Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I have my Brandon Sanderson appreciation shelf here, and I do have some books from his Stormlight archive. However, I have not read them yet, and I really want to get to them. My boyfriend is currently reading them. He is loving them. But I think before I get to the Stormlight archive, I really would like to catch up on the Cosmere books that I have not read yet. And so what I still have left is Elantris and also books 2 and 3 in Mistborn Era 2. So I think this month I may pick Elantris. Also, my boyfriend read it quite recently and he quite enjoyed it. The magic system sounds fascinating, the world, and I'm also very interested about how all of these stories set in Cosmere kind of fit into this big Stormlight Archive series. So I'm very excited about this. And the second favorite author that I have here is Pierce Brown, the author of the Red Rising series, and the book I have is Dark Age. And this is book 5 in the Red Rising saga, or book 2 in kind of this new series which happens 10 years after the original trilogy. And I absolutely love the Red Rising series. It's one of my favorite series of all time. It's basically a revolution story, and what fascinates me about this new series, which happens 10 years after the original one, is that we are examining what happens after the revolution. I do love a good revolution story, but honestly my favorite part is always, so what do we do now? So we won the war, now how do we keep our world from falling apart? What do we do now with this power that we have? What do we do now with the society? How do we change it? Do we survive it? It's all of the questions that I'm really interested in, and all of the questions that Pierce Brown examines in this new series. So the first one, or the fourth in the overall saga, Iron Gold, I read I think this year or last year, this year I think, and I really enjoyed it. I think he made some bold choices with his characters, especially some of the main characters from the first book, which I really enjoyed, and I really respected him for those choices. The way Iron Gold ended, I believe, really set the tone for what this book is going to be, and so yeah, I'm really interested. I believe quite recently Pierce Brown announced the titles for book 3 and 4 in this new series, and they sound incredible. I am very much looking forward to continuing with this series. And that was all of the categories that I chose for myself this month, and all of the books that I think fit those categories. At the end of the month, when I do my September reading wrap-up, I will see how many of those I got to, but I will also see if I maybe read some other books that fit those particular categories. And so please let me know in the comments what are some books that you are planning to read in September's, and maybe if you have read any of those, are they good? Did you like them? I would be very much interested to know. Thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you subscribed to my channel and liked this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys very soon in the next one. Bye!